Hey, what's going on, guys? Ben here today. We are, as of this recording, 1 week out from CharaExpo in California. I'm really excited. It's going to be a good time. The deck I'm going to be playing at that tournament is a Hello Happy World mono deck. Uh, this is the build for that. We have gone through a Roselia build and an Afterglow build here on the channel. And I finally got around to recording my Hello Happy World build here for you. I got a new mic, so hopefully this sounds a lot better than the other ones have. Going into a little bit of the breakdown, the entire deck is yellow, of course, because Hello Happy World's only in yellow. We have 42 characters, 8 climaxes, so we're not playing any events. We're playing 18 level 0s, 8 level 1s, 4 level 2s, and 12 level 3s. Spoiler, there are 25 soul triggers in this deck. I like to call this my Hello Aggro World deck. It's very aggressive. When I built this, I looked into how could I tilt people and push a lot of damage, and this is what I came up with. So it's been really fun to play. I've played maybe a dozen games with it so far. The win percentage has been pretty good. It's a learning curve because I tend not to play this aggressive normally, but it's been really fun though. I can't complain. My opponents have had a kick out of it. I don't know if they're just laughing along with me or if they're just really sad when I just hit them for 5 a whole bunch of times. But they seem to be enjoying it. Going into the card selection here, we're playing 4 copies of She Who Colors the World Karu. It's your basic Azusa, so you discard a card from your hand on play. To look at the top 4 cards, choose a yellow character, so everything in the deck, and add it to your hand. It's a great filter for your hand. It also is really good to mill your deck and also grab the cards that you're looking for in the coming turns. So definitely a 4 of. We're playing 2 copies here of Onstage Hagami. This is your climax searcher. So on play, you clock yourself, discard a card from your hand, and then search your deck for a yellow climax, which we're playing 8 of. Spoiler, we're playing 8 wins, which is kind of a meta call, which we'll get into. But the 8 wins are all yellow, so you can grab your level 1 climax. It's also really helpful if you've already got it to help recur combo on subsequent turns because you can just grab it. Clocking yourself for 1 is really pretty value in this deck because of how much damage you output. So usually it doesn't put you too far behind your opponent as well. It also does give 1k in power, so this can be helpful to help reverse things because your level 1s do get kind of big, which we'll get into. We're playing 3 copies of Invincible Hero Kokoro. This could probably be a 4 of. I just chose some different tech options here at 0. But this gains 1 soul if it's in the middle position of your center stage. So again, we're already pushing for 2 or 3 damage. 2 soul beaters at 0, pretty good. It's also a drop search, so you can grab some of the cards that you'll need for your level 1. This Misaki is pretty value. You definitely want 2 of these in your back row. The climax combo is with your triple combo wind, the Magic of Smiles. When it gets placed in the climax area, you choose one of your characters, give it another 1k, and then they also gain the double trigger effect. It is a pay 1, rest 2, salvage brainstorm, so it's not very powerful for the brainstorm effect, although it is still something you can use to help mill forward, try to grab things from your waiting room. But you're definitely playing it for that climax combo for the Magic of Smiles when it gets played. I'm a Human, Hagami is what I'm using as the beater at level 0. I don't believe there's any runners in Hello Happy World, and this card, when it comes in when it attacks, if I have 2 other characters, gains 2k, so it becomes a 4k, which is pretty good to run over things at level 0 these days. 3k is almost considered a beater at this point because everything is so small because of all the secondary effects. But this card also has the effect that when it triggers a soul trigger, it gains an additional soul. So again, we're pushing the opponent for a whole bunch of damage here real early. Hitting for 3 or 4 if you're directing. So in first deck, most of this damage should hopefully stick, so it should put you pretty well ahead in the damage race. Can You Comprehend Kaoru is a tech card that I'm playing for a few reasons. It top checks on play. If it's a music character, it gains a soul. So again, we're pushing some damage here. But it also tell you if that card has a soul trigger because your level 1 climax combo looks for soul triggers. So knowing what that card is pretty impactful. So you can figure out your attack order at 1. But again, aggressive. If we add a soul, easy. Push that opponent up really, really fast. This is particularly a good game plan in a standby meta because standby wants to slow the game down because they can't push damage. So if you're constantly hitting them in the face, they probably won't be able to close that gap. You're also playing 8 wins, and with double triggering, you're probably going to trigger them, which can then blow back to the opponent's hand any large characters that they managed to field via standby. So this deck, is not only aggressive, but it also helps combat a certain part of the meta that we're seeing currently. We're playing 4 copies of your level 1 combo, obviously. During your turn, it gains 1k, so it's a 5/5 base. And then it combos with the wind to gain an additional 1500, so it's a 7k, 8k with the climax, and then it has double trigger. So every time that you trigger check a trigger icon, you can search your deck for one music character and put it into your hand. More often than not, you'll be searching 4 times with this climax combo. I usually put 2 of the level 1 out and then 1 of this extra cheer Kokoro, which is a 6/5 beater on your turn and also has double trigger. So if I reveal a non-soul trigger off this, I'm coming in with this first, and then probably double triggering because I can. And then I have here the climax combo, which will have the double triggers from the brainstorms, and hopefully I'm just pulling a whole bunch of damage out of my deck with this climax combo, and also just having so much hand that I don't even know what to do with myself. It's pretty consistent, like I said, because you're playing 25 soul triggers. So there's basically a 50-50 chance, especially at level 1, where most of the triggers are not going to be on board for you to hit. So it's been really consistent. Like I said, I'm usually searching 4 with this more often than not. We're playing 1 copy of this 1/1 2k counter. It does give the character, when you use the backup, to kick the opponent's character to memory, which isn't an inconsequential effect. It does have a soul trigger, which is partially why I consider putting it in. But at level 2 and 3, if you can make your characters big enough to clock to memory kick something that's value to your opponent, it's pretty value. People forget that this counter exists. So if you've managed to hold on to it, or they forget that you searched it, or that what it does, it can be pretty impactful during the late game for sure. We're playing 1 copy each of these Kaoru, which are your anti-changes. This is a stock bomb for early plays. We don't play the climax combo that goes with it. I just really like having a 1-in-1 split. I like being able to field something to take care of characters as well as having a backup. This is a discard 2 anti-change backup, so it's not the best anti-change in the world. However, because you should be plussing so much at level 1, discarding the 2 cards really isn't impactful, I found. And your opponent has to respect this when they see it. They can't just start fronting into things with their early plays because you may have this, or you probably have searched it with this, depending on the deck that you're playing against. I'm playing 2 copies of this Getting Dizzy Kanon. I think I'm going to drop it to 1. I already have an idea of what I'm going to switch it out to. But I wasn't too sure when I first built this deck, so I had it as a 2 of. It's a level assist that also acts like an Austin News Married Life, giving 1k on climax play. You can also rest it to look at the top card of your deck and then either leave it there or put it in the bottom. This kind of works if we're going off the secondary level 3 combo, which works with the Magic of Smiles. but it also just gives you a little bit of knowledge of what your trigger is. So it could be impactful in that regards. But I think pumping the power is definitely pretty value. Um, just allowing you to maintain cards on the field at 2 or 3. We're playing 3 copies of this early play. If you need 4 characters on board for it to come out early. But the reason I have it at such a high number, whereas normally I'd want like an early play healer or something here, is that this card can allow you to get your combo off. When it comes into play, you can pay 1 to grab either the Keep Running Until the End Misaki or the Glistening Sun Wind Climax. Both of these are part of your endgame engine, so being able to get them is pretty value, especially the climax, in a way that doesn't involve you clocking yourself. So that's why I have it at a 3 count compared to normally like a 1 or 2 of to be able to do this. But if it comes out early, I don't have any other early plays, so I do want some sort of presence on the field. So that's why we got this 3 count here. Because I can bond for it, I only am running 3 copies of the Keep Running Until the End Misaki. It's your healer. It also, at the end of this card's attack, if the Glistening Sun Wind is in the climax area, I can pay the cost, which is putting it into the grave. And then I can choose the This Is Where I Belong Misaki and put it onto the stage as rested. So this is the end part of your finisher here. When it comes into play, I can salvage a music character. So if I want to resalvage this card, which I had just put into the grave, if I think I need to kill over 2 turns, I can grab it, which can be helpful. I've actually done this where I've recurred combo because I was able to re-pull these off the salvage. The climax combo is pay 2, discard a card. So if you need a card to discard, it grabs that piece of your climax finisher. At the beginning of the encore step, if the Glistening Sun climax is in the climax area, you can pay the cost. If you do, you mill 6 cards, and then you burn X, where X is the number of soul triggers revealed this way. Usually it's burning for 3 or 4, just based on my games. I'm usually hitting for 3 or 4. So, if you can get 2 of the Misakis out and do the change, you're usually hitting for 4, then you're burning for 4. So usually it's like 5 instances of 3 to 4. So it's pretty good. Your opponent probably dies unless they get like super compressed, which unfortunately, with this being pure Hello Happy World, we can't deal with. But I do have a spicy splash red that does have stock swaps. So that's pretty fun because then my opponent can't compress. It also gains 1k cross turn. So this is where like the level assist comes into play, where now you've got a 12-5 sitting there instead of just an 11k. So maybe it can stick around for a recurring combo. We are playing 2 copies of this Hagami. It is an option as a secondary finisher because you are playing the Wind Climax that it does combo with. So if you can't get the Glistening Sun pieces, this is an option. The thing I'm thinking of cutting this to 1/4 is a 3rd copy of this, so I can just have that option to be more consistent. The other thing that's really good with this card is it comes into play draws, so you can maybe draw your climax. You then have to discard, but then you can bounce one of your opponent's characters. So in a meta where we have Bunny Girl Senpai in English now, you can bounce their bodyguard, which probably just destroys their game. So having that effect makes it really good. But I think going to 3 in this, I think, is the play. And dropping this level assist to 1. It keeps the soul trigger count fine. And it just allows this combo to potentially go off as a 2 more easily at level 3. Like I said, if you're unable to put together like this package here. So yeah, this has been a fun little prep for CharaExpo we've done. Hopefully you'll check out the other videos we have, the Afterglow, the Rosalia. And like I said, we'll try to get pastel palettes up at the beginning of next week before the tournament goes off. But if we can't, that's fine. That deck is really interesting, pastel palettes. Just because trying to figure out all the colors. I do some different things. I've seen some people in the Discord looking at my list. So we will have links to those videos. We'll also have this deck list from Encore Decks up in the description as well. I appreciate you all sticking with us as we've begun feeling this way out as a podcast group. And hopefully we'll have a bunch of new videos coming throughout the winter on different things. And yeah, thank you all again for listening. Hopefully you have a good rest of your day.